As doing step-ups, the joints that are changing angles are the hips and knee joints. The primary muscle mover for this exercise is the glute maximus, and the synergist for the glute max are the hamstrings. And the primary muscle mover for the knee are the quadriceps. Now, as she's doing her step-ups, when she's lifting, she's doing concentric contraction. And as she's lowering, she's doing eccentric contractions. Also, as she lifts in a step up, her knee is in extension phase, and as she lower, her knee is in flexion phase.
Squat, her feet are hip width apart. As she lowers, her hips are in flexion. The primary muscle mover of her hips are the gluteus maximus and hamstrings. As she lowers, her knees are also changing angles in a flexion state. The primary muscle mover of the knee is the quadriceps. When she lowers into a box squat, the muscles are in an eccentric phase. As she lifts, her knee and hips are extended and comes in an concentric phase. The hip and knee goes into flexion and in an eccentric phase. The primary muscle movers are the quadriceps, the glutes maximus, and the hamstrings. As she lifts her knee and hip are extended and in an eccentric phase. Her toes are resting not too far or close from the edge of the platform.
As doing leg press, the joints that are changing angles are the hip and knee joints. The primary muscle mover for the hip joint is the glute max, and the synergists for the glute max are the hamstrings. The primary muscle mover for the knee joints are the quadriceps. For this exercise, toes are placed near the top of the platform and the heels are placed near the bottom of the platform. As she lifts up, her legs are in
Her body lies prone to the cushion of the machine. The weight is resting just above her heel. As her knee comes into flexion, her hamstrings, which is the primary muscle mover, is in a concentric phase. The prone leg curl exercise is a single angle exercise. As she goes into concentric phase, her knee is in flexion. The synergist is the anterior tibialis.
Ressa's doing backward lunges, and they're basically a moving split squats. The joints that are changing angles for the front foot are the knees and hips. The primary muscle mover for the hips are the glute maximus, and the synergist for the glute max are the hamstrings, and the primary muscle mover for the knees are the quadriceps. Hyperextension, the knees are locked and they're not changing angles. The only joint that is changing angles are the hips. The primary muscle mover for this exercise is the glute max, and as she's lifting her legs, the hips go on an extension phase, and it's a concentric contraction. And as she's lowering, her hips go into flexion, and it's an eccentric contraction.
Good morning exercise with a straight posture. Her knees are slightly bent. In this exercise, her torso is protected and only her hip joint is moving. As she lowers her hip joint, leans upward and lowers her upper body. The upper body do not change position but keeps the straight posture. Her scapula is inward and the primary muscle mover is the gluteus maximus. As she lowers, her hips comes into flexion and eccentric phase. As she lifts, her hips are extended and in a concentric phase.
is doing an RDL. The two joints that are changing angles are knees and hips. The knees are slightly bent with a flat back. As she's lifting, the knees and the hips are in an extension phase and she's doing a concentric contraction. The primary muscle mover for the knees are the quadriceps. The primary muscle mover for the hips are the glute max, and the synergists for the glute max are the hamstrings. Front squats, the joints that are changing angles are hips and knee joints. The primary muscle mover for the hip is the glute maximus, and the synergists for the glute maximus are the hamstrings. The primary muscle mover for the knees are the quadriceps. As she lowers on the front squats, her hips and knees are in flexion phase, and she's doing eccentric contraction. As she lifts, her hips and knees are in extension phase, and she's doing concentric contraction.
In the deadlift, as she lowers to pick up the barbell, her knee and hips are in flexion. The primary muscle mover is the gluteus maximus, the hamstring, and the quadriceps. This is in eccentric phase. As she lifts, her knee and hips are in extension, and in a concentric phase, her back stays straight as she keeps the weight near the body, almost as if she was rolling it on herself. As she lowers herself, her hips leans out and controls her movement. Rest slightly on her vertebrae. Her feet are hip width apart. As she lowers her butt, her hips sticks out, followed by her knees bending. In her lowering stage, her hips and knee is in flexion. The PMM is the gluteus maximus and the hamstrings. The contraction is eccentric phase. Her knee is bent, is behind her toes, and her thigh is parallel to the ground. As she lowers, her knee and hip is in extension and a concentric phase. Her ribs are not sharing, and her upper body is upright. Her hips are tucked in and her chest is upright. Her weight is in a heel as she lowers and pushes her knees into the round cushion. As she lowers, her knees is in extension and an eccentric phase. The primary muscle mover are the hamstrings. In the lowering stage of the exercise, her hips and spine are not changing angle. Her heels are pressing against the platform, and it allows her knees to lift so she can lower herself even more. As she lifts her up, her knees goes into flexion